My only point is, here's George Soros, one of the wealthiest men in the world, a banker. Everything else he does, he's a banker, and he's underwriting the NAACP. All of these banks prop up the Democrat Party, and here's Bernie. He's going to break them up. And his supporters, yeah, burn you, because these people think somehow the banks are destroying their lives. Look, in an odd way, they have a point in the sense that it's classic establishment taking care of itself. Banks were in big trouble because of the subprime mortgage fiasco. You want to review that very briefly? I don't have the time. I don't want to keep backtracking here. But the fact is, the banks kept developing fraudulent packages of securities to sell to unsuspecting buyers until they ran out of people that didn't know what they were doing. And then that precipitated the crash, when there are no suckers left to buy this worthless paper. Repackaged, mortgage-backed securities. People thought they were buying massive amounts of debt that was being paid off. They thought they were buying mortgages that had monthly income. They didn't know they were buying mortgages given to people that had no income. They didn't know they were buying mortgages that were given to people that could not pay it at all. They didn't know they were getting in the foreclosure business. Well, then they finally ran out of people to sell worthless paper to. And so here came Hank Paulson and the rest of the guys said, we got to bail them out. We got a worldwide financial crisis. We didn't. We had a bank crisis, and they got bailed out. Establishment took care of itself, so they keep their second and third homes out in the Hamptons or wherever they have them. And this is what the Bernie supporters instinctively know. So Bernie's pitch is, I'm going to break them up, meaning I'm going to hurt them. And all his supporters hear is that, and then they hear that he doesn't even know how he's going to do it. He's going to leave it up to them. And all it's going to come down to is whether they're too big to fail. And what Bernie knows as a cliched liberal, too big to fail, that equals bad. The depth of Bernie Sanders is probably not even a half inch, as is the case with most liberals when you get right down to it. So given that, let us move on. This is Gloria Borger on CNN last night. Election coverage. Anderson Cooper, do you think that any of this is doing damage to Hillary?
I think that Bernie Sanders has gotten under Hillary Clinton's skin a bit. But I believe that Hillary Clinton is a better candidate because of Bernie Sanders. I think she's actually more in touch with the base of the Democratic Party than she was starting this campaign because of Bernie Sanders.
Bernie Sanders, who doesn't know most of what he's talking about, is now making her a better candidate because Bernie is helping Hillary get closer and more in touch with the base of the Democrat. Why is that even necessary? I thought the Clintons were the base. I thought the Clintons were the touchy-feely, sensitive, who knew how miserable life was for most Americans. I thought the Clintons instinctively knew what the Democrat Party base thinks and feels. And now we're told that Hillary didn't know any of that, and it took Bernie Sanders being in the race to get her closer to the base. So next, this afternoon on CNN, Wolf Blitzer is interviewing, take it back, Chris Cuomo on Wolf Blitzer's show. I don't know where Wolf was. I guess he's in the bathroom. Chris Cuomo's talking to Mrs. Clinton.
Senator Sanders' campaign manager, Jeff Weaver, said something very interesting, inflammatory on our air here, saying that the Clinton campaign, Secretary Clinton, they need to be careful not to destroy the Democratic Party merely in pursuit of her own ambition to be president. Very strong words. Your response to that idea?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's just ludicrous on the face of it. You know, I have been campaigning for Democrats, fundraising for Democrats, recruiting Democrats to run and win for a really long time, I think about 40 years. And Senator Sanders, by his own admission, has never even been a Democrat.
Hillary Clinton. And remember, Gloria Borger tells us that Hillary Clinton's closer more in touch with the Democrat base because of Bernie Sanders. The conversation between Chris Cuomo, who thinks communism is about improving people's lives, don't forget, and Hillary Clinton continued.
How much more substance does he need other than, I want to break up the banks? We'll figure out how. I want to go after ISIS. I'll figure out where I interrogate them.
Well, it's going to be up to the voters.
But a lot of people would say,
decide,
Secretary, it's about what you want to do. You'll figure out how later.
Yeah, well, that's not the way I've seen it work over a lot of years and a lot of reading of history. I think the presidents who are successful know what they want to do, and they know how to do it. And they hit the ground running.
It is stunning. It is. She's not winning anything except superdelegates. I mean, Bernie, what has he won? 4 or 5 in a row, or 6 in the last 7, or 7 in the last 8? 7 of the last 8. Bernie Sanders won 7 of the last 8. And still, the news coverage is how Mrs. Clinton continues unaltered in her path to nail down the Democrat nomination.